THS Morning Show with Mr. Brenner and Mrs. Keating.
Happy Monday, Trojans, and welcome to the morning show with Mr. Brenner and Mrs. Keating. And welcome to our special guest this morning, Mrs. Micki Williams from Pivot Physical Therapy. Good morning, Mr. Brenner. Good morning, Mrs. Williams. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right. Happy Monday, November 23rd, 2020. As always, if you would all please stop, stand, and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you would now please join me in a moment of silent meditation. All right, well, we're getting ready to get started into our show today. I do have to say that here I have included a nice meditation style photo. Anyone know where this location is?
Pennsylvania Grand Canyon.
Good guess. Mrs. Williams?
I would say Mount Pisgah.
Yeah, you got it.
All right.
It's beautiful.
I tried to make it to cross country 3 times and didn't make it because we got canceled for various reasons. And I'm going to make it there. I'm going to make it. It's on my list.
Okay, Mrs. Keating, on to you for announcements.
All righty. We have a big congratulations to the THS Student Council for hosting a mini-thon in April, which brought in $1,866.60. That's great, great, great money there for Student Council. Also, Yearbook is still looking for some photos, some hunting photos. So it looks like a Monday after Thanksgiving will be some more time for you to get those in. Any kind of hunting photos while you're out, think about those things. Take some photos for Yearbook. Also, pictures of you being awesome with online learning. We're all doing that daily. I know we are. Also, how are you staying busy? Are you doing anything cool or interesting while we're off during this remote learning period? Are you doing a job? Are you taking up any interesting hobbies during this virtual learning period? You can send those to the THS Yearbook at thsyearbook@troyareasd.org. All right, how about some news there, Mr. Brenner?
Sure. Okay. First point of news, our good neighbors in the Canton School District are now moving to remote learning until December 7th when they return. Pennsylvania and Michigan are set to certify their election votes today. On Saturday, a federal judge disallowed a delay in the Pennsylvania certification. In world news, protests in Guatemala are taking place as social programs have been cut. On to you for sports.
All right, unfortunately for Bengals fans, first round NFL draft pick, Joe Burrows went down with a knee injury yesterday, which Mrs. Williams can attest for. It looks like it's an ACL injury for Joe Burrows, and he's going to be out for the season. So it's a little bit upsetting for him. The Steelers moved to 10-0. Steelers Nation is excited. Their undefeated season with a 27-3 win over the Jaguars yesterday. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, the Eagles with a 17-22 loss over the Browns. This disappointment is having many fans wondering how long it will be before the coaching staff is going to bench Carson Wentz, quarterback there for the Eagles. So lots of highs and lots of lows in the NFL yesterday. How about this day in history, Mr. Brenner?
This day in history, in 1909, the Wright brothers formed a $1 million corporation for the commercial manufacture of their airplanes. 1903 was their famous first flight, and it looks like by 1909 they were really getting things rolling and flying with it, and they were starting to really promote the airplane as like a legitimate form of transportation. So they were getting their company going in 1909. In 1945, on this day, wartime meat and butter rationing was able to end in the United States, so they were able to make their great steaks with a little bit of butter on top for that extra flavor, and do that without rationing. In 1968, 4 men hijacked an American Airlines plane with 87 passengers headed from Miami to Cuba. In 1990, the first all-women expedition to the South Pole sets off from Antarctica on the part of a 7-day trip. The group included 12 Russians, 3 Americans, and 1 Japanese woman. Now, in 1992, the first smartphone came into existence, the IBM Simon. It was introduced at Comdex in Las Vegas, Nevada. 1990, the first smartphone. So let me show you some things that are interesting about all of that. So here's the Wright flyer. You can see here we have Wilbur Wright in the flyer. You can see some of the things that make the Wright flyer special. A lot of these things we see in our current airplanes, but you can see that they had wing tips, which allowed the airplane to roll from side to side. We had rudders, which was, controlled the yaw as you like turn it. And then you have elevators, which go up and down. One of the first things that the Wright brothers did was having those 3 axes of rotation on their airplane. Pitch, yaw, and roll. And that's one of the things that they're famous for. And all of their control surfaces are the things like elevators and rudders and things that help to control those 3 axes of rotation. Of course, it had a motor on there that was kind of important to keep it going. Their motors got a little bit more powerful over the years. And one of the things that I really thought was cool is this, they started with a bicycle company, not an airplane company. So this is the right side. This is their actual business card, like a lot like we'd have business cards today. But this is like a picture of their actual business card. And I like the address, Hangar at Huffman Fields. And they actually use the @ sign like we see in in website addresses today. So I thought that was particularly neat. Now, I think that a lot of people are probably interested to see our first smartphone. So here is the Simon with its 11 built-in programs. This smartphone had a calendar, a to-do list, a calculator, an address book, an appointment scheduler, a world time clock, an electronic notepad and sketch pad, handwritten annotations, standard and predictive stylus input, and on-screen keyboards. So you can see it. It's not a color screen, but it's there. That's the first smartphone right there from 1990. And that's all for today for this day in history. On to you, Mrs. Keating, for weather.
I remember getting my first cell phone and I was so excited. And I, of course, only had it and could only use it because I started to drive. And it was like a brick. I mean, you didn't even have a spot where you could keep it. I kept it in my glove compartment of my car. And it really wasn't convenient at all, but it was such an exciting thing. Super exciting stuff. All right, so today's weather. Today we have a high of 47 degrees. It's pretty chilly out there right now. It's going to be breezy, but the clouds will break for a little bit of sun later on. And tonight we'll see a low of about 33 degrees. And now on to Mr. Brenner with our COVID update today.
Bradford County still remains at number 10 for infection rate in the state out of our 67 total counties. Right now, for every 10,000 people in the county, 7.3 will test positive each day. That's compared to the statewide average, where for every 10,000 people, 4.8 will test positive. So it does go to show that as a county right now, we're struggling with our COVID a little bit more than the state average, where the state average is 4.8 and we're 7.3. That's all for the COVID update today. The next thing, and always our favorite part of the show, is our guest. So we'd like to welcome Mrs. Williams to the show today. Good morning, Mrs. Williams.
Hi, guys. Thanks for all of that very interesting information.
We try to keep it interesting.
we do. We hope the viewers find it interesting. I know we sure do.
Thanks for having me.
We put the things in that we find fun. I always joke with Dan that one day I hope that ESPN finds me. That's my real my real thing in life that I hope. Just kidding.
No, okay. So I think that you would be a great ESPN announcer.
Hey, thanks.
But remember, tractor pull coverage is my show. So you got to let me on for tractor pull coverage.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. You know, they're combined together. So together we can make our dreams happen.
All right. So first question, Mrs. Williams, would you mind just telling us a little bit about your history and what brought you to physical therapy and how you became a physical therapist?
Definitely. I've got probably a relatively typical physical therapist story. I graduated from Troy in 1994, and when I was a freshman or a sophomore in high school, I suffered a knee injury. And at that time, we had an athletic trainer that covered the entire NTL. So Kim Trahan was the only athletic trainer that I knew. She visited the school for a couple of hours a day, and anybody, or a couple hours a week, I mean, one day a week for a couple of hours, and anybody that had an injury could see her. And so somehow I ended up in Kim's office one day, and basically she figured out that I'd had a meniscal injury, gave me some recommendations, and off I went. And that kind of got my brain interested in the field of rehabilitation, so to speak. I actually did my undergrad work in athletic training in sports medicine at Slippery Rock. And while I was there, I was in about my junior year trying to figure out, what the next step was going to be. I had a lot of professors trying to convince me to consider physician assistant school, even med school. And I really just didn't have a big interest in doing that. I loved the rehabilitation part of sports medicine. And so basically, in the 13th hour, decided to apply to physical therapy school, and, headed to physical therapy school there right after undergrad. My husband and I, Bob, is also a Troy graduate, and he's a couple years older than me. He was stationed in the Air Force. After his undergrad degree, he joined the military. He was stationed in the Air Force in Phoenix. And so I applied to one grad school. I had one shot at physical therapy school, and luckily was accepted. And so him and I spent the first 3 years of our marriage in Phoenix while I attended PT school. So it's pretty typical. Got hurt, really got interested in the world of recovery, rehabilitation recovery, and headed to PT school from there. So.
Very nice. Now, over the years, you've been relatively successful in your career, and we always want to make sure we highlight how that works for our students so that they can kind of also see the pathway to success. And you've sort of transitioned from a role where you're doing exclusively physical therapy to a more leadership role at Pivot. What did that look like, and what kind of suggestions do you have for our students that are, getting ready to start into careers?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. True, I started out as a staff physical therapist. I worked for Guthrie for just shy of 2 years, and ultimately decided to join Matt Dewing in private practice at ProCare Physical Therapy. Again, just a couple of years out of school. That decision was a hard decision because I had a desire to return to Troy and treat in Troy, and I was doing so with Guthrie, but ultimately decided to make the trip, joined Matt, and started working in Towanda. And relatively early on, Matt had a strong vision for opening additional clinics. He had one at the time that I joined him. I was the first PT that he hired. And so I kind of got a front row seat at what amazing leadership looked like. And I was really fortunate. He invested a lot in me, probably believed in me more than I believed in him. And so those role models are important. I listened well, he didn't have to repeat things to me. I soaked it all in. And so at the time that he decided to open 2 clinics, we really kind of opened it together, and he really concierged me through not only leading myself well, but starting to lead others well. And so through just natural progression of, being at the right place at the right time, really appreciating and listening to him and allowing him to lead me. That was part of it too. We were really fortunate and just opened a bunch of clinics, brought on additional people with additional strengths, and again, allowed them to be a big part of the team. And when we were at about Well, we opened Troy. I forgot about that. So shortly after I joined Matt, he asked me if I wanted to open a clinic in Troy. And so we luckily were able to open a clinic in Troy in 2006. And I was the director of that. So I got dip my toes in the water, so to speak, when it came to leading. I had a very small team of one. I led myself for a while, and then started adding additional staff. I opened the clinic in Keating, and so added additional staff there. And then from there became basically the regional manager, eventually becoming the VP of operations. And then when we merged with Pivot, accepted a regional manager position again. And I think, my only message would be to remain coachable. Certainly as I started gaining some confidence in leading, I really didn't want to lead from a position of hierarchy. I knew there were times I was going to have to make decisions, but I really wanted to involve as many people as I could, get their ideas. And I think part of that comes from how Matt treated me early on. I really respected him and appreciated him allowing me not only a seat at the table, but a voice at the table. And really that's the approach I take for the most part. I make decisions when I have to. Otherwise, it's a pretty collaborative environment. And I think when we do that, we have a lot of buy-in.
Awesome.
So we're really in a time of, remote learning, working from home. Everybody's on devices constantly. So from a physical therapy standpoint, what are some things and, things that you can give us, some techniques even that you can give us that are great physical therapy things of working from home, working on iPads, working on laptops that you can give us that are best practices when working from home for students, for people in general?
Yeah, no, there's a lot. We go through my first half of my physical therapy schooling and head into everything that we need to do. Basically we see the injuries like Mr. Burrow had, where it's just a traumatic injury, right? But a lot of the times our aches and pains are a result of just life on this planet. And so figuring out what we're doing that's counteracting the way that we're basically made. Our body's made to be in a very neutral position. And so that is, eyes up, ears kind of pushed back onto the shoulders, and everything else in line from top down. And so just knowing that really can help us to understand that our eyes are in the front of our head. We tend to kind of lean forward and follow the screen, and that takes us out of neutral. And so exactly, you do. Even just knowing it, even just being aware of it is super helpful to really save your body. And so I would encourage students, teachers, even individuals working a lot from home to just periodically try to get yourself into neutral, which is just that eyes up, ears back, bring your chest forward a little bit, and your body will automatically thank you, because in that position, everything that's supposed to have space has space. So things aren't getting pinched, things aren't getting encroached upon. So.
That does feel good already. That's okay.
Yeah.
Dan, we're going to do that. We're going to just stop and do that sometimes.
Mindful.
Yep. Neutral alignment. It's your friend.
Oh, I like it. All right.
We have all these chairs with all these adjustments. We need to get them set up so that it works for that.
Yeah, we're going to work on that. Thank you.
Your feet should be able to touch the ground. That's actually a really big one that we see missed. People's feet aren't touching the ground, or they're in a reclined or, semi-relaxed position. And your feet help you stay neutral as well.
We're going to walk around the building today after everybody watches the morning show, and everybody's going to be like this.
Yeah.
We're going to teach them great things today. Everybody will be relaxed and in great positions today. This is wonderful.
If you add that with a moment of silence, that would be
right. Yes, absolutely. And then our counselors send out great self-care meditation techniques. It's awesome. So we need to combine all of those things together for our people. This is wonderful.
Everybody take care of your brain, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, Mrs. Williams, how has COVID impacted your job in the world of physical therapy?
Yeah, substantially for sure. You know, beyond just the, you know, the economic impact, which in a management position, I deal with a lot of that side of it as well. But, you know, we maintained operations the entire time. We were deemed an essential employee. And as a result of that, you know, really, you know, we didn't have any days where we shut down. We lost about 60% of our patients within a relatively short amount of time, which was scary. You know, one, scary for us economically, but honestly more scary because that meant people weren't getting care that they really needed. And we oftentimes see when people don't get immediate access for care, it makes our job harder, you know. So we're worried about the impact that, you know, lack of care would have on our communities. But I was really proud to be part of Pivot at that time. Pivot became the first physical therapy provider in the nation to offer physical therapy via telehealth. So we were, you know, we had an amazing group of individuals that were moving that forward. Our IT department was just working around the clock to make sure that we were well resourced, and we were able to supply people with, you know, an equivalent level of physical therapy service via telehealth. And I think just to, you know, really, we were cleaning, we were paying immense attention to that, but continued to focus on just having fun, enjoying each other, appreciating, you know, so much the patients and our team members that were walking in the door. And I do think it gave us a time to kind of reset a little bit and focus on what was, you know, most important in our profession, which is caring for people.
Absolutely.
What are the best and worst parts of your job?
So if I go back to just the physical therapy side of it, the best part of that job is, you know, really just being part of an individual's recovery. We see people sometimes in some of their hardest times, you know, a patient who's had a stroke, you know, an athlete who all of a sudden just suffered a season-ending injury, and to win daily with them. You know, it's a celebration when a patient who's had a total knee replacement, you know, rides the bike full cycle for the first time. You know, the entire clinic will celebrate with them those moments. Even patients, other patients, you know, are cheering them on, and that's just an incredibly rewarding thing to be part of, literally daily. The worst part of the job is paperwork. It always is, you know, just like any industry, we're being regulated heavily, and just really trying to stay on top of all of that, get those requirements completed while still really just wanting to take care of people and help them, you know, achieve their goals. It's a tough balance sometimes.
Yeah. So if we have any student viewers out there that are interested in getting into physical therapy, what kind of suggestions do you have for them?
Study hard. Yeah. You know, I know you had Dr. Wood on here a little bit ago, and she walked through just, you know, the immense amount of education that she has, and physical therapy is no different. Anybody that's graduating from physical therapy right now has a doctoral degree, which means they're putting in a lot of years of work, but it's just so worth it. You know, I had somebody really early on tell me, if you invest in anything, invest in your education. And I took that, you know, to heart. And I've talked to many students about that when they're worried about 6 or 7 years of school. It's definitely worth it. But, you know, focus on what you're doing, focus on what you're learning, because you are going to need it. I know many times these students say, I don't know when I'm ever going to need this, but I have found so many times so much of what I learned I really did need. And so, you know, take your studies seriously. Consider observing. You know, Pivot we still are allowing people in our doors, of course, safely. And so consider observing for a couple of hours. You'll see the wide breadth of possibilities in physical therapy, from treating, you know, a 3-month-old with torticollis to treating, you know, the 95-year-old who's still trying to stay in their home, to treating, you know, the weekend warrior to the student athlete. It's just a really, really neat profession, and has a lot of rewards. And so the work is worth it. And so keep that in mind. If you're, you know, if education is the main barrier for you, you just don't want to spend the time, reconsider, because it's definitely a rewarding and worthwhile profession.
Well, I know a lot of our students have a, you know, a great role model right from Pivot, and that's Bill Fry. And we mention this all the time on the show. We'll have to have Bill on one day, because we always are talking about how much we love Bill. And I know that maybe they kind of look to him like you look to your mentor, you know, to or to your role model to be a, you know, a person to model what a career would look like. So just another shout out to Bill, of course. We all love Bill.
Yeah, Bill is an incredible athletic trainer. He's a fantastic person. We're really, really lucky. He's an immense leader for sure within our organization. Absolutely, and within our district too. So, Mrs. Williams, you've shared some photos with us that we would like to share. We've talked all about physical therapy, but we get an opportunity to see some not only physical therapy photos, but some photos that that you just wanted to share with us and with our community, and some things that you want to talk about. So it looks like we have a family photo here. Yeah. Yeah. You know, this is why we came back to Troy. You know, Bob, like I said, Bob and I both grew up in Troy, and our parents are from Troy. And so as we were starting to make decisions about where we were going to land, we were happy to go away. We've said now to many, you know, young kids that have entered our home for various reasons, you know, consider going away. You're then going to know if you want to come back or not, you know, but there's a lot to the world. Go see it, go do it, and then make some decisions. And this is the big reason that, you know, we came back to the area. So, awesome. So see, you know, Bob's parents, and then my parents, and of course, Nick and Taylor. And you're all wearing your Troy red Trojan gear, and it looks great. Yeah, I think this was actually a red out, and I think that was Nick's birthday. I'm cool. Pretty certain that was Nick's birthday last year. Cool. All right. How about this? Is this an old shoe game? This is the whiteout at Canton last year. Not just this past season, but the past season. And again, you know, you see our family there, which we're so thankful to be able to share these moments with them. But we have some extended family, one from Alaska actually in there, and one from Lehigh Valley down there. So, yeah. Well, that looks good. We're looking forward to heading back to Canton next year to go recollect that shoe. I hope so. Yeah. How about this? I kind of grouped these photos together because they were all very close. And Mr. Brenner, you didn't have to use every picture I sent you. I didn't know we'd be going through. Yeah, no, you know, this, when you asked me if I had any pictures from work, you know, these are, I certainly could have shared pictures of me, you know, working on somebody's knee or on somebody's shoulder, or, you know, educating them on posture. But at the end of the day, it's about relationships. You know, we spend an awful lot of time at work. And so these are just some of my fun moments at work. Actually, this one was the one with the shawl was taken after somebody had sent me that as a gift, and it was just huge, and we felt like, how many people can we fit in there? So we took a moment off from work and took a fun picture with 3 of us squeezed in there. And this picture is actually, we were dressed very similarly, and then somehow we ended up with a 2XL t-shirt, and we wanted to fit in that shirt, and so there became just an impromptu fun moment at work. No, I love that you're sharing with us just some of those fun moments, because that's so important in a rewarding job.
And it does. I was going to say, and it shows the family dynamic of Pivot, so that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
How about this one?
Okay, so the man on, this is a great picture. The man on the left with the heavy beard, that's actually my boss, Matt Doing, the original founder and CEO of ProCare. And the individual in the middle is my mentor, my original mentor. When I first entered the physical therapy industry, Tom Amberry was my immediate supervisor, and taught me a lot about how to just care for patients, how to care for their families, and the process of it. And we got together and had one of my favorite meals, coffee.
Look at that size of that coffee cup. Holy moly, that's a bowl of coffee.
That is speaking my language there.
Yes. Me as well. Yeah. This was us a couple of years ago. And this is Marcus Redline. So many students know Marcus Redline. One day Marcus and I were dressed similarly as well. And so we took a little impromptu picture, but Marcus is the director of our location in Troy. And just a dynamic individual who I swear doesn't have a bad day. And then this is St. Patrick's Day when I showed up to work, and one of my coworkers had bought me those and thought I should wear those the entire day just to deposit fun, So much of the time when the boss walks in the room, it's like, uh-oh, what's going on? And so we tried to keep it light, and Liz thought I should travel, with green fake glasses that day. So I did.
We
call it the high holiday in the Keating household. So I totally agree with that.
There you go. Yeah. This is one of my, most respected coworkers. I'm with Perry Coslow. When we were part of ProCare, we had to travel to Virginia. We have 3 locations in Virginia. We spent a lot of time traveling, and we stopped at Arby's. We're cheap. And we stopped at Arby's, and there was a tree growing. That's a live tree right in the middle of Arby's. And so we took a picture there on our travels. And the other picture is one of our holiday. Oh no, this is Valentine's Day, where we had the bright red and pink lips that we shared with each other just prior to enjoying a meal together. So, lots of fun, lots of laughs for sure in these pictures.
It does. It seems like a very positive work environment with people really enjoying each other. And this is our last photo to share. So tell us what you have here. What's going on?
Yeah, every single year when we were part of ProCare, we did a clinic of the year. We called it the Blue Man Award, where we just recognized a team that, just checked all the boxes, provided not only great care, which is why patients come to us, right? They need to get better, but also did it in a way that, was really just exceptional customer service and teamwork. And so this was our Troy location. I don't remember what year this was, but they won the Blue Man Award. And I see Tanya Maddox in there. So Tanya worked with us for quite a few years as a just amazing team member, as she is for you guys as well. There aren't many Tanya Maddoxes in the world, and she was part of Brandy Fry.
That's the truth. That's the truth. We love Tanya here. We wouldn't give her up for anything.
Yeah, I know. Well, she certainly is. She's an amazing attribute to any industry, that's for sure. And Duke Updike, he was one of our first fitness managers. He's in there as well. So we're going back. It's a little bit of a throwback, but certainly a fantastic team right there. I can't not talk about Sue Spano, Michelle Redline, Lou Tickness. They all were just amazing coworkers. And that was a really, really great team. Happy to be part of it.
Well, thank you so much. And that kind of wraps up our slideshow. So I just want to say thank you one more time. And Mrs. Williams, have any final words of wisdom for our students before we say goodbye today?
No, both to parents and students. If you're considering athletic training, talk to Bill. He's much better at it than I. But from a physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to have one-on-one discussions, do a little bit more deeper Q&A. And try to help some kids make some good decisions about the rehabilitation world. Again, it's just super rewarding, and I hit the jackpot. When you can go to work and love what you do every day, it just doesn't feel like work.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being on so much. Thanks for everything.
Yeah. Have a great day, guys, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, you too.
You too. All right, students, it's that time. We're going to wrap it up with an alma mater and an encouragement for you to get to work and have a great day today.
O Trojans, list to our joyous song in praise of the red and white, and honor your alma mater as long as you dare to be true and do right. The good times we've had as the days speed away will hold in memory dear. We'll honor our high school forever and day. For our dear THS we will cheer.